Great to have you with us. Now, the former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah-Asare, has faulted law students who failed a recent bar examination conducted by the Independent Examination Board for their woes. A statement issued by the Students' Representative Council on the mass failure, which they claim will deny them the opportunity to practice as professional lawyers, is urging authorities and other relevant bodies to take a second look at the compulsory exam set up by the Independent Examination Board, the entity responsible for the examination. Over the past couple of months, there's been an ongoing debate about the legality and justification for the managers of the only state-owned legal studies academic institution to censure admissions with an entrance exam and interview, among others. Speaking earlier on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM, the former director of the school argued that by accepting to take up the exam regulated by a body with questionable credibility in the first place, they've shot themselves in the foot and they've exhausted all possible remedies available to them.
I would say that it should be scrapped immediately. Frankly, I was surprised and disappointed when the students went to write the exams last year. I was hugely disappointed. The students have known all this time that the IEB is an amorphous and unlawful body. And yet, having been trained in the nuances of the law, that you cannot put something on an illegality, they still presented themselves and wrote the exam. So they waived, whatever chances they had. They waived it. They cannot blow hot and cold. If you know that the body is amorphous and illegal, why do you, lend credibility by going to write the exam? I would have thought that when the Supreme Court made it quite clear that the IEB is amorphous and illegal, the students would have used that to challenge the General Legal Counsel on this particular matter. I've never been happy, with the establishment of the IEB. Nobody knows how, it was established. It's not founded on any law. And if the Supreme Court itself, the highest court of the land, describes the body as amorphous, then the same Supreme Court turns around to say, nevertheless, you allow them, one more chance to set the exam. It was something that I didn't understand and I'll never understand. The Supreme Court doing hot and cold, with the greatest respect. I think all that the students have said about the IEB are legitimate.
Meanwhile, the students are wearing red armbands on campus to register their displeasure and press home their demands. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba visited the Mokola campus this morning to interact with some of them and came through with this report.
It's a red day here at the Ghana School of Law as past and present students continue to protest over what they call unfair results for their bar examinations. Yesterday, there was an open forum here at this institution. Key amongst the resolution was the call for the scrapping of the Independent Examination Board. The students also want the cost of the repeat exams reduced from 3,000 Ghana cedis to 500 Ghana cedis.
Must give way we have to go back to the way things were done, because you have lectures there should be certainty. You attend lectures and you should be certain in your mind that at the end of the term or at the end of the semester, maybe this is how the questions may come, and then this is the rate at which maybe people will have to pass will be higher. Those teaching you should lead you to know what to do and what not to do, and not to have some amorphous body sitting somewhere and deciding what to do. It's like some intentional, deliberate attempt to fail people. You must know that each and everyone here is here on merit.
It was very devastating to see that only 91% out of over 400 students passed the exams. So in solidarity, we the current student or batch of students in red to support them to fight a just cause.
An examination where over 500 students wrote and just 91 of them passed. That's less than 20%. And if just less than 20% of students pass an examination, that means there's something fundamentally wrong. And we think that the independent examination body should be scrapped. Since this independent examination body was established, there have always been problems. And as we always say that you can't have the cure to the disease causing more problems than the disease itself. The cure is now a canker, and the cure is causing more is now a bigger disease than the disease that it was brought in to cure. Our lecturers, we have good lecturers, men of integrity. We have Supreme Court judges teaching us. We have Court of Appeal judges teaching us. And even all our lecturers are people who will qualify to be justices of the High Court, that's the Superior Court of Ghana. And we have these people teaching us very well, and these people they have the capacity to mark. Now, since the inception of the IEB, every time there are problems with our examination. Now, with just 20% of the people passing, that means that there's something fundamentally wrong with the system. And this is an indictment on not just the students, but even an indictment on legal education, that just less than 20% of the students are passing. Well, now, there's a saying in Tree that, just this May, we're also going to write our examination. And we don't think that we should subject ourselves with this IEB. Our time, we are more than 500 people going to write. We don't know our fate. Probably our time, they'll come and tell us that just 53% of the students pass. What is wrong? We should know what is wrong. Okay. It is our position that the IEB should be scrapped.
Well, yes. There are some who are saying that the demands that you are making unrealistic. The General Legal Counsel cannot meet those demands. One of them is that the remarking fee should be, the cost of the remarking fee should be reduced from 3,000 Ghana cedis to 500 Ghana cedis. Somebody says, I mean, it's not realistic. That cannot happen.
What do they mean by that cannot happen? Can every student afford 3,000 cedis per paper? So if you want 5 papers to be remarked, how much is that? Do the maths. How many people can afford this? This is
which is more than our school fees.
Yes, which is more than our school fees. We cannot stand for this. No, something must be done.
Well, I think if bringing in IEB was to make things more transparent and fair and less hassle for the student, then obviously they are not achieving their objective. So a lot needs to be done. Obviously, they need to sit down and listen to the students a lot more in terms of way forward so that good measures can be put in place. Because right now, it's very tough on students. You know, we are talking about examinations.
Another aspect of it also that talks about internships and then the repetition policy for the Ghana School of Law. As part of the resolutions, they are asking that the exams should be written in June instead of March. And they are saying that for all the students who start and then wrote the examinations, they should be given the chance to do their internship irrespective of the outcome of the exams, whether they failed or they passed. Do you think that is fair?
Yes. Now, with the repetition policy, students write 6 papers in the first semester and 4 papers in the second semester. The students who are deemed to have, per the publication, over 295 students who we are told have been repeated, couldn't pass these papers within 8 months. Now, the results have been delayed, and now we just have about 2 months to write the examination, because we are writing exams in May. So if these students couldn't pass their exams in 8 months, how are they going to pass their exams within 2 months?
One of the many considerations, Annette, yesterday was the possibility of a demonstration to register your displeasure as what you deem or what you call an injustice. Do you think when push comes to shove, demonstration should be the way forward?
Yeah, I'm all for demonstration. I told them to start with the demonstration, but people said no. We think we have to sit and talk with them. If it doesn't work, then demonstration will be the next step. Yeah.
And we have to fight for this because we are next on the chopping board.
So in that communique that came out yesterday, the SLC was basically questioning the integrity of the IEB, the Independent Examination Board. Do you think it's justified for the SLC to question the integrity of the body, the IEB? Do you think it's justified?
Yes, I think it's justified. It's justified because if an exam is organized, then out of 477 people, 177 are referred in a course or 2, and 206 are repeating, and only 91 passes. I think it's justified that we call them to explain or at least understand the marking scheme so that we can all come on board and arrive at a solution to the problem.
Let's stay with this issue because the latest development is that Vice Chairman of Parliament's Subsidiary Legislation Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, has rejected calls by the law students for scrapping of the Independent Examination Board as the Ghana School of Law. The students made the demand after more than 80% failed a bar exam. Joy News' Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is in Parliament and joins us on the phone with more. Joseph, what reasons has the committee been given for rejecting the call by the students?
So I've been having a conversation with Bernard Ahiafo, asking for his opinions on the demand by the students. And he says that as far as he's concerned, the concept of an independent body marking an examination is something that exists even at the lower education level, right from junior high school to senior high school. He makes the point that the West African Examination Council has a similar policy where those who teach students are different from those who eventually set the WASI and the BC exams, and those who do the marking are independent people. And as far as he's concerned, the concept of an independent examination body at the Ghana Law School was even drawn from what exists at the level of WAI as a way to ensure some level of transparency so students don't feel cheated, so there's less familiarity on the part of those marking the exams when it comes to the students. And so he thinks it's a good practice that should be continued. What he's unsure of is whether the idea of an independent examination body has legal backing, but he thinks commonsensically it's a good concept that should be maintained.
So was he able to speak to the fact that the setup of this particular IEB is being questioned by a number of legal experts and the students themselves? You mentioned the fact that the issue of legal backing, that, for instance, the board does not have.
That is the bit that he says he still needs to look into further. But then he makes the point that as much as possible, there's the way that the entire system can be improved. But the basic idea of an independent body doing the marking is something that he thinks should be maintained. And that if there are any concerns around it, then those concerns should be dealt with. But then the major idea should be maintained. But Daniel, I've been gathering some other details on a few other issues relating to this. You would recall the legal professions, regulatory instruments that have been brought to Parliament that we are expecting to mature before the end of the month. We're gathering some details that a number of members of Parliament on their various social media platforms have been putting together their colleagues, and officially they've put together a petition to the Speaker asking that that particular LI be struck down. You would know that the provisions, this coming as a legislative instrument, would require that even before the 21-day maturity date expires, more than 2/3 of members of Parliament need to vote in support of shooting it down before it can be withdrawn. Well, we understand that the MPs leading this appear to have gotten the number. They are just getting a signature, the signature of various supporters onto the petition, which we gather may be presented before the end of this week, requesting that the Speaker shoot down this particular legislative instrument so the General Legal Council can go back and rework it and bring a proper document.
Right, Joseph, stay with that story because before the end of the week, we would like to understand what the latest would be. But we also know that the Joint Committee of Constitutional and Legal Affairs and Subsidiary Legislation are considering this particular LI. What's the latest on that consideration?
So, with it being an LI, all that they are waiting for is the 21-day maturity period to get to that, and for that duration to expire. Even before the LI was eventually laid on the floor of Parliament at the end of the last sitting of the House, there were pre-laying consultations, and that saw a number of amendments. For example, there was the insistence in that regulation that there should be both examinations and interviews for students before they are able to get into the law school. The MPs got the provision having to do with interviews scrapped, and so currently the law only requires that examinations alone are considered. So, for example, Vice Chairman of the committee, Bernard Ahiafo, is of the view that he's only counting down to the expiration of the 21 days, and then that provision will become law. So that's what everyone is waiting for, unless we see that petition being handed over to the Speaker in connection with that, and then it will be brought to the floor, then we'll see it being withdrawn.
Definitely come back to you for those updates. Thank you very much for joining us. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our man in Parliament. Let's move to the Upper West region. Now, cases of stillbirths and neonatal deaths have increased in that part of the country. In 2016, 299 stillbirths were recorded. This shot up to 314 in 2017. 135 neonatal deaths were recorded in 2016. Now, this, however, went up to 149 in 2017. Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Joseph Nwete, is worried about the trend, impressing on health officials in the region to work towards reversing it. This came up at the Upper West Health Performance Review meeting in WA. Joining us, Rafiq Salam has more.
The Regional Performance Review meeting of the Upper West Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service was held under the theme obtaining optimum quality data for enhancing planning, decision-making and implementation of health interventions in the Upper West region. The meeting brought together major stakeholders in the health sector, including district health directors, district chief executives, heads of departments, development partners, allied health workers, and traditional rulers. Districts were ranked according to their performance in specific interventions such as immunization, surveillance, antenatal care, skill delivery, maternal deaths, and stillbirths, among others. Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Joseph Nwete, in his assessment and review of the performances of the various services, hinted that districts that perform poorly will be reprimanded.
For surveillance, all districts did well, reported at least one case of measles and yellow fever. However, in the case of polio, one municipal health directorate failed to report even one case of AFP, and this is not good enough. For skill delivery, we improved from 57% to 69%, and I congratulate all of you for that achievement, because from experience, it is not easy to chalk such a success in skill delivery. So I say, ayuko to all of you.
Another area of concern for health managers in the Upper West region is the increasing cases of stillbirths and neonatal deaths. Dr. Nwete expressed worry over the increase and called on all stakeholders to put their shoulders to the wheel in order to put a stop to the increase.
Stillbirths increased from 299 in 2016 to 314 in 2017. Neonatal deaths also went up from 135 in 2016 to 149 in 2017. Obviously, this is not a good news. Though maternal deaths increased from 25 in 2016 to 26 in 2017, the maternal mortality ratio decreased from 118 per 100,000 live births to 103 per 100,000 live births, which is good.
Chief Director of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Alhaji Abdullahi Abubakar, commended municipal, district assemblies, Ghana Health Service, and JICA for their support in the implementation of the chief strategy. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam.
Now, we stay in the health sector and in that part of the country because a CHIPS compound constructed for the Kong electoral area by the Sola District Assembly 4 years ago is still under lock and key, forcing the people in the area to travel about 26 kilometers to Tuna, or in some cases about 57 kilometers to Sola to seek medical care. Many pregnant women have had to give birth halfway through the journey because of the distance. Even though the chief and people of the area have volunteered to furnish the facility, it's yet to be opened.
Assemblyman for the Kong electoral area, Hamid Mutalim, said the community has recorded several deaths due to lack of a health facility in the area.
We have recorded a lot of deaths just because of this. I'm talking of this health facility not being in use. Whenever a woman is in labor, anytime or most of the times, the woman or the women that we do transport to Tuna, some of them on our way to that particular facility, they give birth on the way, and sometimes the unfortunate things happens. Sometimes we lost the baby, and even the women, some of them bleed to death. So it's a very worrying situation that we are facing in Kong here.
Mr. Mortality said snake bites are common in the area, and when it happens, they suffer the same fate.
In other cases too, or instances where we do have snake bites, it's also another challenge in this community, Kong. Anytime somebody had a snake bite, we have to carry that person to Tuna, as I mentioned earlier on. And when we get to Tuna too, they will refer that person. They will tell us that they have no medicine to cure that particular snake bite or that particular disease. So they will either refer us to Bole or even Wa sometimes. So we are calling on government to come to our aid and other philanthropists. We are suffering. People of Kong are suffering.
A nursing mother, Amina Amidu, said she gave birth halfway through the journey to the health center when she was in labor. She called for support for the opening of the clinic to reduce the problems they encounter.
Okay, yeah, well, help her. So, say, call way and cry, just say, do you say, na ye way and cry no. Say, on yam so, say, Uko Jadro, Ebia, Unis Kakra, will cry so say, Uko Tuna, just offer form. And also crying what? Or be singing ma. So about what I just said the motor fan. And to be how could do so I know I woo honum. Say, what in your cry, crown on fan. Missy Accra, where time I had me call Dr. Sam and call me call woo crying so. Ever, many bear my back or cry or burn him into your brepa. Yeah, a hospital I see. Ye moon or moon to me be. Ya. Say, we buy Yalia, just say, who I wouldn't show what you no work tuna. Ebi, Obequaco do now, we are bossa, Ubequaco do Kurano, now Kurana, we yalla, a car Kurano. So more boy be a mebwayana. I how so enjoy so.
You're still watching Joy News today. I am Daniel Daze. Now, stories have gone by so far. Former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah-Sareh, has blamed law students for the mass failure recorded in the recently held bar examination conducted by the independent examination body. Still to come, we tell you how a visually impaired person is braving the odds to survive on the streets of Kumasi due to discrimination against him in the formal job market. We are back after this break. Thanks for staying with us. Now, we take you to the Ashanti Region, Kumasi now, because there's a physically challenged person who is braving the odds to win in the job market. Now, statistics from the United Nations suggest that between 50 and 75% of physically challenged persons across the globe are jobless. Most of them find themselves on the street with little or no hope of building a meaningful future for themselves. While some beg for alms, the few who venture into various trades have to contend with all manner of discrimination in patronage of their work. In the following report, Prince Apia tells the story of a visually impaired young man who sings on the streets of Kumasi for survival.
Anthony Kwatin exhibits his skill on the keyboard here at Tech Junction. He also sings with passion. Beautiful as it may seem, Tony, as he is popularly called, is visually impaired. At age 2, Tony suffered from one of the childhood killer diseases, measles, which strangely affected his eyes. After fruitless effort to find a cure, it cost him his sight. I'm an orphan. I've been in this state since 1983. No school, no job. Tony had to resort to and depend on his God-given talent to survive. He, together with other visually impaired friends, formed the Wonders of Peace of God International Blind Gospel Band. They go from town to town, community to community, to sing at lorry parks and at funerals.
We rent
the instruments at the cost of 450 cedis, including transportation to venue of every show. We are unable to pay the cost every day because sometimes we make between 200 and 250 cedis. It is difficult, but we have no option. So according to the UN, 80% of persons living with disability live in the developing countries. Now in a country like Ghana, a significant number of these persons beg on the streets. But for Tony and his colleagues, they've decided to make ends meet from their talent, that is singing. Their motivation every day is a little coin and note dropped in the box behind me. From the guitar, keyboard and drums, the band never owns any instrument. A very worrying situation to them. Staying on the street has not been easy for Tony and his colleagues. Last time at Abrepo Junction, a woman nearly pushed our instruments on the ground. She insulted us and said we were making unnecessary noise there. I always cry when I remember. Tony has been married for 8 years. He has 6 children, including 2 sets of twins. He has written about 30 songs. He is among many young visually impaired talents in need of help on the streets of Ghana. If government can support us with sustainable jobs to get us off the streets, we will be happy. Ghana is one of 172 countries to have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. Nonetheless, inequality, especially in developing countries, has increased by 11%. These widening disparities require sound policies to empower the vulnerable, like physically challenged. Prince Apia, reporting.
All the best to him there. So watching Joy News today. My name is Daniel Daze. Up next, Baba Tando brings you sports.